Next up for Steven Universe Future Reviews, we have the episode Bismuth Casual. I am so excited that they used one of the Bismuth puns in an episode title. Have they done this before? I don't think they have. If not, it's never been one as good as this one. This one actually made me laugh out loud. I also have to say, bravo to the Biz Pearl shippers. Apparently you guys knew what was up, because I don't think I've seen any character exhibit more explicit romantic interest in another character. Except maybe Steven towards Connie sometimes, and I guess like Ruby and Sapphire, then Bismuth expressed towards Pearl in this episode. Holy crap. Like, I knew that there was a thing there, but it could have just been camaraderie. They've been comrades for thousands of years, right? But no, Bismuth is clearly into Pearl, and it's the most adorable thing I've ever seen. It's just so cute to see a big, tough person kind of character melt like that when their crush does something worthy of being crushed on for. That's a clunky sentence, but I'm sure you get my point. And I will get it out of the way right at the gate. The episode does end on, I think, the potential for Pearl to now understand a little bit that something's up. So maybe that'll go somewhere. If it does, it'll be super freaking adorable. I'm actually kind of looking forward to seeing where it does go. Up until then, though, Pearl was apparently completely oblivious to it, which is, it's funny, just like funny, haha funny, but it's also slightly funny, bang, splat, because that's how Rose used to treat Pearl's affection towards her. The whole premise of the episode is that Steven and Connie, who's back in the show now, I was very excited to see that, are going to the roller rink, and Pearl and Bismuth are going along with them. I don't know if we're supposed to assume that Bismuth made the excuse that she wanted to connect with humans, or if Pearl suggested it, and Bismuth just leapt on the opportunity to go on what is effectively a date with Pearl. But the whole setup for Pearl bringing Bismuth to this specific scenario is that this is where Pearl goes to connect with humans, and she wants Bismuth to have the opportunity to also connect with humans, and she keeps giving her tips, and they're absolutely hysterically adorable, and I'm not going to spoil any of them for you in case you guys haven't watched the episode yet. So I know some of you guys still do that. You still watch these reviews where I talk about the plots of the episodes before you watch the episodes. And while I am willing to spoil the plot for you, I'm not going to spoil the humor for you. That would be pretty cruel, I think. And while Bismuth is looking for the opportunity to connect with Pearl, here under the guise of wanting to connect with humans, but she's pretty indifferent about all things considered, Steven wants to reconnect with Connie. But he's also being really Steven about it. He understands that she has to do a lot of studying, that she can't be around as much, and he is forcing himself to be okay with that, even though, carrying over from the previous episode, he's worried that she's drifting away from him too, and she gives him every opportunity to just say something. To just say, hey, I want to make sure we do stuff together tonight because I feel like we're drifting apart. And he keeps just dismissing it. Especially once some of her friends from, I can't remember what it was, like their study group or whatever. Can't remember what specifically they called it. Show up, and Steven realizes that he doesn't have a lot of shared experiences with humans. He and Connie really connected over the fact that she didn't really feel like she had a place or anyone else like her to relate to, and Steven kind of felt the same way. And, I mean, I had thought about this before. Every fan has thought about this before. Steven doesn't have a lot of shared experiences with other humans. The other Beach City humans are different because he grew up among them, right? But people he never knew growing up, people who actually went to school, who actually still go to school, who go into town occasionally to a skate rink to skate with their friends, he has no context for that. So when he tries to relate to them, he comes off as weird. To himself, they don't really seem to mind. But he comes off as weird to himself, so he starts to convince himself that Connie would be better off if he left her alone to be with her friends, because he's worried it's going to drive her friends away from her, and that's going to harm her. And it was so painful to watch. Like, not in a cringy kind of way. He doesn't embarrass himself, at least not in any way that's not endearing and or funny. It's not like that. It's just, again, I relate so hard to this kind of thing. Seeing him for such a good-natured reason. I won't say good reason outright, because it's not a good reason, but for such a good-natured reason, trying to ensure that Connie has her best life. Seeing him suffer so much for that, because he's just that good a person and cares about her that much, that he puts her needs and her feelings first. It was adorable and sweet, but I also wanted to smack the kid in the face, and that's basically what Bismuth ends up doing verbally, thankfully, because she would have just knocked his little head right off of his brand new neck that just popped up in the last 3 years. During a little interaction between the two of them where Steven realizes that Bismuth has a thing for Pearl and now ships them super hard and wants to set them up, Bismuth picks up on what's going on with Steven and Connie, and they talk about it, and she gives him a very good pep talk and gets him to understand that he's wrong. I mean, that's the simplest way to put it, but he's wrong. Connie is going to want to spend time with him, and he shouldn't. He's pushing her away. He doesn't see it that way, but he's pushing her away, and that's going to harm her too. So they fuse into Stevani, they skate, it's fantastic, and of course Stevani is extremely impressive. So now Steven is able to connect with Connie's friends over the fact that they're now interested in the phenomenon that is Stevani and want to know more about it. It was a good way to end, and just like in the last episode, this episode ended with Steven in a better place than where he started. He is starting to make positive strides. And I hate it so much because I still am 100% sure that Steven's going to end this season, like not end it overall, but we're going to come up to the end of this season with Steven in a worse place than he was when he started out. And building him back up first, that's just mean, Rebecca. How dare you, Rebecca? I'm kidding. This episode was also great, and I see where the story's going, more or less. And I'm going to hate it, but I'm also going to love it, because I do believe everything is going to work out in the end. Because as much grief as I give the crew from time to time, I know they love us, and I know they love these characters, right? And just like I really loved that it was Peridot that connected with Steven in the way that she did in the previous episode, I liked that it was Bismuth here, not just because Bismuth is a criminally underused character, and getting to see her in a different context in this episode would have been the best thing about it if it wasn't such a good episode in every other respect. But because that foundation for that, maybe it's one-sided, I don't even know anymore, but that attraction between Bismuth and Pearl, because that foundation was already there, they were able to build on that to give Bismuth a solid reason for why she might, on one level or another, understand what's going on with Steven right now. The story of this episode developed a character and simultaneously developed them into a character who was perfect for helping Steven through the situation he was in, specifically in this episode. And I get what's going on here. Steven's going to have moments with the backup crystal gems, for lack of a better term, the ones that aren't the core three, before he has moments with the core three, and I like that as an idea, because any true resolution to what's been going on with Steven should happen between Steven and the core three crystal gems, because as much as I love them as characters, and as much as I know that this wasn't their intention, they are in part responsible for the way Steven feels now. Their entire lives, they've been comparing him to his mother and building him up and making him think that having a destiny, having goals to accomplish, missions to go on, people to save, monsters to fight, worlds to prevent from destruction and conquest, that those were what made him special. Those things were what made him special. Those things, his powers. And yeah, there were plenty of times where they made it clear they love Steven for Steven, and yes, they never really egged him on to going on missions. They even didn't want him to at first, but that was how he connected with them. Going on missions with them, that was how he connected with them for real, for the first time ever. And so maybe if saying that they're at fault isn't entirely accurate, saying that they are at least partially responsible for the mindset he finds himself in now is entirely fair and accurate. And so his biggest developments, his biggest breakthroughs need to happen with them, and his biggest developments and biggest breakthroughs should be saved until, if not the end of the season and the series, then closer to it even than this. I am a little annoyed, I will say, that first of all, Sour Cream has the best job ever, a feat that I will never match up to, and also that Steven and Connie are still just calling each other friends. They're obviously together. I don't know why they won't just say it, unless it's going to be a plot point, I guess, but those are nitpicks. This episode is, like the last one, absolutely fantastic, though I kind of feel bad for volleyball now. I mean, I'm not that worried about Mystery Girl. It seems like Pearl moved on from Mystery Girl and vice versa a long time ago. But I really thought Pearl and volleyball had a thing. You know what? I forgot that Pearl has two hands. Sorry, false alarm. As per usual, I'd like to know, what did you guys think of the episode Bismuth Casual, if you have seen it? Let's get a discussion going in the comments section down below or over on my Discord, link in the description. But either way, this has been AJ22, and I will talk to you guys later.